Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1165B, and today's date is December 29th, 2016, and the title of the episode is The Elite Just Made Their Move Against Russia Using Lies and Fake News. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, as we move into 2017, and Trump is sworn in, and he moves into the White House and takes control, we see that Republicans, well, they're getting ready to repeal Obamacare. Now, they don't have a plan right now to replace it, but what they're saying is they're going to get rid of bits and pieces of it that make no sense whatsoever. I mean, the first piece that they need to get rid of is the penalties if you decide not to take the insurance, which is completely unconstitutional. Other parts that they might keep are provisions that let people under the age of 26 remain on their parents' plan. And we can see there's going to be a very difficult time taking away taxpayer-funded freebies, because that is very difficult to do, because once people are receiving it, they don't like to give it up, and the government doesn't like to take it away because it puts a bad light on them. And we can see that there are certain individuals in government that use this concept to give out freebies and expand the federal government, and the government that moves in afterwards or after that, they have a very tough time saying, something, we can't do this anymore. And this has been the problem since the beginning. And this is why the government has grown so big and they've spent so much money. But when we look at Obamacare right now, we see the premiums in 24 states, they're over 20% this year. In 24 states, half the country. And this was supposed to be affordable, which it is not. We see out in Germany, Angela Merkel, well, she is really pushing the Ministry of Truth out in her country. We know 2017 is an election year for her, and she is pushing this new plan where social media giants like Facebook and Twitter, they're going to be fined about $522,000 per day for leaving fake news online on their services. Now, we can see what she's trying to do here. She wants anything that is not in line with her party to be taken down. Anyone that contradicts her party, the government, or anything else, or any story that comes out of her area, she wants it taken down. And she's calling everything fake, which is absolutely ridiculous, because just because someone has a different viewpoint doesn't make it fake. We see the United States is out in North Korea pushing more propaganda that North Korea may possess another missile launching site at a village which is suspected of having nuclear facilities. They don't know for sure. They are alleging. They have no real evidence. They shot some blurry satellite images that really show absolutely nothing. And at this point, what they're trying to do is they're trying to push the propaganda. And the United States government central bankers, they're famous for doing this, where they like to push out the propaganda, make people think in a certain way without any real evidence. We see out in Syria right now, there is a ceasefire deal. What does it cover? Well, it covers the moderate rebels. It does not cover the Islamic State. It does not cover al-Nusra. It does not cover any terrorist group. Russia, Turkey, they were able to talk to the 7 major rebel groups, which have about 60,000 fighters, and they're now in line with the ceasefire. So what are the mechanics for enforcing the truce? Well, they haven't really been revealed, but what they're saying is that Turkey and Russia, Syria, they'll be enforcing this. And what happens if somebody violates it? They are automatically considered a terrorist, and they're free to go after. Now, we see right now that the United States was not involved in this whatsoever because Russia understands, Syria understands that if the United States government central bankers were involved in these talks, they would have broken down. They'd have gotten nowhere. And this is why they left the United States out, because they're tired of dealing with these individuals who lie, cheat, do not keep their word. We see the U.S. is sending an additional 200 troops to Syria. And you have to remember why they're doing this. They're still trying to carve out that area in Syria. They're still trying to hold on to a little piece of this area in Syria. And we can see that the Syrian government, the Russian government, they are sweeping through the country. And Turkey, well, they pointed the finger at the United States government central banker of the coalition forces and said, listen, they had something to do with the Islamic State. They created the Islamic State. They supported the Islamic State. They funded it. They supplied them with weapons. Erdogan said he had evidence, and we also have to remember that Erdogan was also part of this, and most likely that's why he has the evidence. But he was in line with the coalition forces where they supported the Islamic State, where they made money off of the oil that they stole from Syria. We know that Erdogan housed the Islamic State and had them move in and out of the borders between Syria and Turkey. So they're all involved in this. And what's happening right now is they're all taking sides and they're pointing the fingers. And of course, the United States is out there saying, no, we've never supported the Islamic State. We did not create the Islamic State. They're saying that Erdogan is making up fake news. Well, right off the bat, we know most likely it's true because we've been following it, we've been tracking it, and we've seen more than enough evidence that shows that, yes, the United States has been supporting the Islamic State. They created it. This was all part of their plan. And the coalition forces, they were all involved in this. We see right now that the United States government central bankers, they announced sanctions against 35 diplomats for the alleged election hacking. And the sanctions apply to 5 entities and 6 individuals. And U.S. officials are expelling the 35 Russian diplomats. Now, Obama, using the executive order, he took additional steps to address the national emergency with respect to significant malicious cyber-enabled activities. This amends Executive Order 13694, blocking the property of certain persons engaging in significant malicious cyber-enabled activities. And they did all this without any evidence that was provided to Congress, that was provided to the electors, that was provided to the American people. They went on saying, listen, just believe us. The evidence is classified, and we can't hand that out. We'll look at the evidence and maybe we'll produce it later on, which is absolutely ridiculous. They should provide the evidence first and then take action. But that's not the way the U.S. government central bankers work, because they deal in propaganda. They deal in lies. And the U.S. is saying, yes, we plan to release the evidence once we create it, because we can't find anything. And that's why they never produced it to Congress when Congress specifically asked, can we have the evidence? And they never did. So right now, Obama, his last couple of weeks in office, he is pushing as hard as he possibly can to get Russia to do something. And Russia's response is, we're tired of these lies about Russian hackers. This is coming from the United States government central bankers because they were caught hacking into the election systems in Georgia. They're trying to cover their tracks. They have no evidence whatsoever that links the Russian government to any of this. And if they truly had evidence, it would have been all over the corporate media in a split second. They wouldn't wait for it. They would produce it very quickly. Because they like to show what they have. And when they have nothing, they use a lot of propaganda. So what happens now? Well, we see they've taken the first step by using fake news, lies. The next step is most likely some type of cyber response. Because we could see right now, they want a war started before Trump even gets into office. Because once Trump gets into office, you know this whole deal with Russia most likely is going to disappear. And they don't want it to disappear. They want something to occur right now. But we can see right now that Putin, he is not going for it. He's not falling for their tricks. He knows it's a lie. He knows they have nothing, or they would have produced it already. So the question is, what is the U.S. government, central bankers, the elite, what are they going to do at this point? Because this is going to do nothing. It's what they do afterwards is what they're going to try to push. And we most likely will see some type of cyber event or some other type of event which they are most likely preparing right now to push this to the next level. And will this happen during New Year's? Will it happen the first couple of weeks in January? Well, we'll need to watch because we can see this is quickly approaching. They might even do it in the first week of Trump to try to push him into doing something at that point. Make this event so incredible that Trump has no alternative but to go after Russia. But we'll see what happens. We see with the Tu-154 crash, well, they're saying at this point there's a preliminary information coming out saying that they can't find any evidence of onboard explosions. They still have to go through the black boxes to see what is there. They're picking up about 13 large fragments of the Tu-154. This was carrying the Russian military choir. They were going to be singing in Syria during Christmas. And this could have been another message that was being sent to Russia saying, listen, we can get you at any time. So fall in line and listen to what we are telling you. Don't deviate from what we want. And we can see that Putin doesn't play these games. And at this point, these central bankers, the elite, the shadow government, well, they're losing the Middle East. They're losing control. If you really think about it, losing control in the UK with the Brexit. They're losing control in Italy with the Italian referendum. We see France, the elections are coming up. In Germany, the elections are coming up. And the central bankers, they're going to be desperate at this time because they're realizing the people are fighting back. They don't want the central banks anymore. They don't want to be controlled the way they've been controlled, where the wealthy get everything and the everyday citizen gets nothing. And the central bankers, they're not going to have this. They're going to fight back with everything they have. And this is why I'm saying, from all the indicators, geopolitical, political, economic, we can see with this crash coming, they're preparing to create this event to distract everyone from what has happened. And hopefully they forget about it after the war, because they're going to use the war to distract everyone, to reduce the population, so they can restart the entire system. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.